Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. Today, we're doing a rigorous analysis of a highly insightful piece. It was written by Shay Adler, and it's called You've Been Lied to About AI. Adler presents a sobering yet entirely necessary thesis regarding the current state of artificial intelligence in the workplace. We're going to strip away the comforting rhetoric and expose the underlying operational realities. If you're an IT professional, a corporate strategist, or frankly, anyone actively working today, you need to understand the true trajectory of automated labor. To thoroughly unpack Adler's arguments, we'll follow a clear five-part agenda. First, we'll examine the AI comfort lie. Second, we'll look at corporate reality versus hype. Third, we'll explore how roles are shrinking. Fourth, speed over perfect quality. And finally, we'll wrap up with the adaptation mandate.
Let's dive right into part one, the AI comfort lie. These are the comforting narratives we see every single day.
If you spend any time scrolling through your professional network, you'll inevitably encounter this cyclical, very comforting narrative. It's the idea that human creativity will always win, right? That consumers will perpetually demand the quote-unquote human touch. But Adler argues that this is fundamentally a psychological defense mechanism. To see why this comfort lie is a fallacy, we have to look behind closed corporate doors. Adler states, no one is sitting in those rooms trying to prove that humans are irreplaceable. They are trying to figure out how much of the work no longer needs to be done by them. That's a profound distinction. Executives aren't having existential debates about human value. They are conducting systematic, cold audits of operational efficiency. And this brings us to a rather stark juxtaposition. On one hand, we have the mythology perpetuated by the workforce, the belief that the human touch is this impenetrable shield against automation. But on the other hand, we have the empirical corporate reality. The actual metrics driving organizational decisions are time, cost, and the volume of automated output. The modern boardroom is singularly focused on velocity. Leadership is asking purely mathematical questions. How much faster can we execute? What percentage of this process can we automate? And consequently, how many human hours are actually required to hit our baseline objectives? The reality of the situation entirely sidesteps the myth we tell ourselves.
Moving on to part two, corporate reality versus hype. What companies are actually discussing behind closed doors?
We have to pivot our focus to the concrete financial and strategic pressures that are actively catalyzing corporate AI adoption. The era of treating AI as just some fleeting tool trend, that's definitively over. Adler details the precise pressures that are restructuring corporate environments today. We're talking about fundamentally reducing overall expenditures and exponentially increasing operational speed. There is an immense, palpable pressure for organizations to brand themselves as AI companies. AI is no longer a discretionary line item on a budget. It's being inextricably tied to annual funding, it's directly influencing hiring freezes, and it's being embedded into the very core infrastructure of how modern businesses operate.
Underpinning this massive infrastructural shift is a singular, unyielding question. It's one that corporate leadership revisits continuously. If this can be automated, why isn't it? Now, this isn't a rhetorical query. It is a strict mandate. For IT professionals and knowledge workers, recognizing the sheer weight of this question is imperative. If a process, a routine report, or a daily task can theoretically be executed by a machine learning model, leadership expects a very compelling financial justification for why a human is still getting paid to do it. This leads us to part three, how roles are shrinking. Specifically, the trap of the AI will just assist narrative. One of the most prevalent and, frankly, dangerous compromises professionals make is assuming artificial intelligence will merely act as a co-pilot or an assistant. Adler meticulously dismantles this by looking at the specific components of professional labor that are being outsourced to AI right now. Things like generating initial drafts, synthesizing exhaustive research, managing the routine logistics of internal coordination, and handling layers of repetitive decision-making. Historically, these foundational tasks consumed the vast majority of a standard 40-hour workweek, so Adler observes an immutable law of this new workplace geometry. When the foundational pieces of a job shrink due to automation, the role itself doesn't just stay the same size, the job inherently contracts.
Let's examine part four, speed over perfect quality, redefining what good enough means in the workplace.
A really common critique leveled against AI, one that's often used to justify job security, is that its algorithmic output is generic, and that quality will always win in the end. But here is the reality. Organizations are willingly accepting that generic output. There is a widening divide in workplace priorities. The traditional professional is deeply focused on perfect quality, careful manual work, and future optimization. But the contemporary company?
They prioritize fast delivery, consistent output, and immediate usability. As Adler astutely points out, an iteration that is good enough and shipped today holds vastly more enterprise value than a meticulously perfected version delivered next week. The fundamental baseline expectation for output has changed entirely. This shift induces a profound psychological friction. Adler identifies this not merely as technological frustration, but as a full-blown crisis of workplace identity. Think about it. For decades, a professional's sense of intrinsic value was directly correlated to their ability to perform complex tasks carefully and manually. When an algorithm can replicate that process, even at a slightly lower quality, but at a fraction of the time and cost, it forces a deeply uncomfortable interrogation of where human value actually resides. So that friction you feel when you're tweaking prompts, it's often less about the inadequacy of the chatbot and more about the destabilization of your own professional identity. Conflating "this tool isn't perfect yet" with "this tool won't replace my workflow" is a catastrophic strategic error. Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, the adaptation mandate. The decision has already been made. It's truly time for an intellectual wake-up call. The theoretical debate about the integration of artificial intelligence, it's over. Operating under the assumption that you have the luxury of time is a dangerous fallacy right now. Adler issues a direct, unambiguous directive here. Stop arguing about AI. The fundamental nature of the work mutated before the workforce fully recognized it. While skeptics are out there expending energy pointing out exactly where AI fails, your most competitive peers are systematically mapping out where it succeeds. They're learning to navigate the imperfect systems, integrating them into their workflows, and consequently rendering themselves absolutely indispensable to the new corporate paradigm. Adler concludes the article with a highly provocative, necessary question, one that demands deep personal reflection. Because the landscape has shifted irrevocably, the only relevant inquiry remaining is this. Are you adapting with it, taking proactive ownership of your technical evolution, or are you passively waiting to be told by a manager or a contracting market that you should have? That choice alone will dictate the trajectory of your career. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning to buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. We recommend that you subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. Please ask them to like, comment, and share to help us reach a wider audience. Thank you for watching.